Well, we're in a world with so many things that are happening. Some of the things I just like want to know what's going on. Well, let's talk about some of the things that are going on in today's society. Well, first, we just want to share with you that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That's right, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So the color pink is the flavor of the month, not just because you're an AKA, you to my daughter and all her friends who are AKAs, but because of the message that the American Cancer Society has put forward in saving lives. Cancer doesn't discriminate, male or female. Robert Roundtree, God rest his soul, was one black man who was diagnosed with breast cancer and became a spokesman for the American Cancer Society, telling people and telling black men about their stories, his story. And I'm telling everybody, cancer doesn't discriminate. So do all you can to get checked up. Your daughters get checked up, wives get checked up, aunts get checked up, because it's a horrible disease that doesn't affect just that individual. It affects the family, affects the community, and affects all our neighbors. So please, all of you who know somebody, give them some love and wish them well, and let's fight this ugly disease called cancer. Next, we want to let you know that starting tomorrow at 4:30 p.m., the Healthcare Education Project and the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program will be in front of 712 East Gun Hill Road for voter registration. That's right, voter registration. And if you haven't registered to vote, this is one of those times that you can come on out in the community in the borough of the Bronx. That address is 712 East Gun Hill Road in the Bronx, 10469, right by the train station, right by Gun Hill House. This is a very active intersection. Come on out and get registered to vote. They'll be there at 4:30, looking for you to make sure that you have your voice in this. And you know, this election that's coming up is going to be crucial. And we're talking about what? November 5th is election day in the state, in the city of New York. So make sure you do all you can to be a participant. I want to remind everyone, when you do vote, it's not only about what's going on in Washington, it's what happens locally that matters, more importantly. So make sure that if you can't just vote every 4 years, you need to vote every election cycle for your Congress members, your senators, your assembly members, your city council, but equally more important, the judges that are in the court system. You know, you want to make sure the judges are in there who are fair and smart and bright and who can make sure they deliver justice for the victim and those who are victimized. So, with that being said, we're finalizing that at the end of this week for the Jewish community. We know it's Rosh Hashanah that kicks off as the Jewish New Year kicks in for that community. So we wish them all well, rest, and blessings and prayers. So, with that being said, that's what's going on. As we talk about what's going on, we want to talk a little about tonight about something called MWBE. Now, for many of you may not know what that actually means, but we do have two dynamic guests who are joining us tonight to have this conversation with us. And I'm so thankful and grateful that she's here with us right now. Her name is Ebony Hayes. Ebony Hayes is in the house. She is the CEO and owner of Mind, Body, and Hair Salon in the borough of the Bronx. So let's welcome her to King Talk Tuesdays. Glad to have you, my sister. And our next guest will be signing on soon. We're looking forward to chatting it up with him. He will be tuning in with us. He's the Chief Business Diversity Officer for the Office of Mary Eric Adams. There you go. Brother Mike Gardner's in the house. Good to see you, good man. And my 100 Black Men New York in the house. How you doing, brother?
It's great seeing you as well, and thank you for having me on your dynamic show.
Thank you, sir. We really appreciate those kind words, and we're going to try to follow in your footsteps because you've done it right for so many years and so many decades, and I applaud. I'm thankful to know a good brother like you. So let's jump into it, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Garner. Can you talk to us a little about, just quickly, because we want to know who you are. When people say MWBEs, you know, we're a world of acronyms, and people trying to figure out what all this stuff means, syllables and trillables and all this stuff. So talk to people the definition of MWBE.
That's the term. The acronym stands for Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprises, and it's an official program that a lot of cities and states and corporate America employ in order to drive business and to increase contract awards to ethnic minority-owned businesses.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So now we know. Now you are at MWB, is that correct?
That is correct.
Oh, okay. So we want to know about a little bit about who you are before we get into the meat and potatoes of everything. Talk a little about who is Ebony Hayes.
So I am the owner of Mind, Body, Hair Salon. We've been in existence since 2005, and we specialize in natural hair and hair care. We've been located in the Bronx for the last, in existence, even before I was actually certified.
Okay.
About a year ago, we moved to Williamsbridge Road, and so that's where we reside, 1446
Okay.
Williamsbridge Road.
Well, I want to thank you because when it comes to us doing us and patronizing us, sometimes we don't get it right. Well, Mike Garner, I want the people to know a little about your story, your background, because you are heading up the city as one of the chief diversity officers for the mayor's Eric Adams. And again, all of our viewers, prayers up to Brother Eric Adams and strength and blessings to protect over him and his family during these times. But talk to us, Brother Gardner. Talk to us a little bit about who you are.
So I've been in this industry for an extremely long time. Started my career with Mayor David Dinkins and working at NYCHA. I was a procurement officer, but I always had a special affinity towards including small and minority-owned businesses in the process. And so started out at NYCHA, got the opportunity to navigate over to the New York City School Construction Authority. As you know, that's the agency that's responsible for building, rehabbing, and modernizing schools in the city of New York. So all these new, brand new, airy, colorful schools you see being built, that agency is responsible for building those schools. And so it was there that we employed and created a lot of aggressive minority business programming. So I stayed there 14 years, started out as a manager, left there as a senior director. And when we vote, great things happen. And so my career evolved under Mayor David Dinkins. And then when former Governor David Patterson got into office as the governor, his appointment secretary reached out to me and asked me would I be interested in a newly created position at the MTA as the MTA's first chief diversity and inclusion officer. And so I said yes. And then I went there, and in 14 years there at the MTA, we turned that program around. And so there's 97 different state agencies and authorities in the state of New York. And the MTA was ranked last. And most people don't understand the magnitude of the MTA. The MTA is a $1 trillion organization, the largest transportation network in North America, with a $55 billion capital budget in building things. And so, for example, the Bronx has transportation deserts. And so you and others fought for a long period of time, and the MTA now is building 4 Metro North train stations in the Bronx.
That's right. That's right.
And so once those train stations are built, there's a new concept called transit-oriented development. And what happens is that when there's a train station built, then housing is developed and built, retail stores is built and developed, and that's a new neighborhood. And so if you live in Co-op City, and if you're traveling to Midtown Manhattan on this so-called express bus, which sometimes take you an hour and 20 minutes to get from Co-op City to Midtown Manhattan. Once that station is built, the time that it takes to get to Midtown Manhattan is going to be 40 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And so it's going to be improved transportation to Midtown Manhattan from Co-op City. So there's 4 stations being built like that. But building and construction, you want to make sure that projects are built safely, timely, and on budget, and inclusive of the MWBE goals. So those local neighborhood businesses can benefit from that construction project that's being built. And so in 14 years at the MTA, when we first got there, the MTA was ranked last in the whole entire state of paying dollars to minority women-owned firms. It was averaging $116 million a year and 6.7% MWBE inclusion. They were ranked last. Mm-hmm. In 14 years, we turned the MTA around where they are now first. And so that 116 million was increased to 1.5 billion. that 6.7% was increased to 30%. And so in advising candidate Eric Adams during his campaign, I gave him the blueprint.
Okay.
And once he was elected, he said, you have given me the blueprint. Now I want you to come and join me and execute the blueprint. And so let me say, hot off the press, the Adams administration inherited 23% minority business inclusion citywide.
Oh, wow. That's, hey, I give a hand clap to you, brother. I give a hand clap to you.
Well, we inherited 23%. Less than 2% of contracts was going to black-owned businesses.
Oh, no, that's not a good thing.
We are getting ready to announce next week where there's been a 52% increase. So we have increased from 23% to 35% in 18 months. Wow. And last year we awarded $5.2 billion to minority women-owned firms. $5.2 billion. And so the 35% is the highest percentage of contracts awarded to minority women-owned businesses in the history of the city of New York, which, as you know, was incorporated in the year 1625. So the Get Stuff Done Adams administration, we have turned these 45 agencies around where 35% of all contracts are now being awarded to city-certified MWBE firms. There's been a spike in contracts awards being awarded to Black and Hispanic-owned businesses.
Okay, well, I really appreciate that information. That really sets the tone for anybody who doesn't know the effect of what it's designed to do in MWBE. So you've been in MWBE. Tell us about your story. Why did you sign up, and how is it working for you?
Well, I signed up about maybe 5 years ago, and I just wanted the business to grow. I thought, who else great to partner with would be the city of New York and those agencies where maybe I can get my business into, to just, do the service that I do. It was a challenge, it's a lot of paperwork to go into it, but I navigated through it and became certified. So glad I am. I'm just ready to move on to the next level, which is actually getting these contracts.
Okay.
And so I find it a little challenging in that regards, just putting my capability statement and all my other next moves together to position the business to get the contract.
Okay. Well, with as we just started off that, we up time for a break right now. So we're going to be right back on King Talk Tuesdays with more conversation about MWBEs with Sister Hayes, the owner of Mind Body Salon, and of course, our Chief Diversity Officer for the City of New York, Mr. Gardner. We'll be right back with a message from the Israel United in Christ. Yeah, that's only for a moment.
Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. Scan that QR code that you will see on the screen. Because guess what? We trying to push this truth through the four corners of the earth. Let's push this truth through the four corners of the earth, man. Stop playing games.
Make sure you subscribe to all our channels. We're pushing it too. Make sure you subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Stop playing games.
Welcome back to King Talk Tuesdays. I'm your host, Andy King, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. We air every Tuesday night here on Millennial TV News 24, as well as Facebook, Horizon Satellite, as well as Apple TV, Horizon Satellite, as well as Amazon Prime. We also air at 9 p.m. on BronxNet Channel 70 and also Fios Channel 2136. Tonight, we're having a conversation about minority business-owned enterprises, women-owned enterprises, and we have two people who have who are working it and someone who's working. And I'm thankful for both of them for the information they are going to share. If you want to be part of this and learn how to become an MWB, but we want to get into some of the questions. I'm gonna come back to you, Brother Gardner, about the purpose. Some people say it's there. Who has access to it? Supposed to have access to it. You've been doing this work for decades. So, what was the original overall goal of even establishing the system of an MWBE?
Ironically, it was this program or these programs, the set-aside program, was started during the Richard Nixon White House. It was a lot of riots that were occurring in the turbulent 60s. And so with Richard Nixon being a capitalist, he felt in order to quell the urban unrest and to increase jobs in the Black community, why not take a portion of government contracting and set it aside? That's the original term was set-aside programs.
Okay.
And so the Black business community, they benefited from the federal set-aside programs. And then if you fast forward, the state of New York incorporated their MWB program in July of 1987 by former Governor Mario Cuomo. And former Assemblyman Al Vann and others put pressure on him to create a MWBE program that would benefit Black-owned and other minority-owned businesses. And then when David Dinkins got in 1989, he created the city's MWBE program. And there's been a lot of evolution on the city's program. And so, for example, former mayor, he's not my mayor, but he's a former mayor, Rudy Giuliani, gutted and dismantled the city of New York's MWB program. Well, Mike Bloomberg got in for 12 years and he started building the program back up. And then former Mayor Bill de Blasio put infrastructure into the program and some funding. And when Mayor Adams got in, he put full support into the program, funding, staffing. Mayor Eric Adams is the first mayor of any mayor who have gone up to Albany and got all of his MWBE legislation passed in one session.
Kudos.
With a lot of our legislative leaders, including State Senator James Sanders and State Assembly Lady Ronice
Rochette.
Hermlin, yes.
Oh, okay.
And they carry the mayor's MWB programming. And so you're starting to see a spike in contract awards going to minority women-owned businesses. There are 45 different agencies that are spending taxpayers' monies, and we're making sure that those taxpayers' dollars are being spent in an inclusive manner. And why is it important for the city of New York to eradicate barriers and to award contracts in a more inclusive manner? Because we know and we understand that access to government contracts creates job creation in communities of color who have historically been shut out. It also creates home ownership opportunities for the business owners, better educational options and healthcare opportunities for their respective families. So it's a win-win. Taking taxpayers' monies, investing those taxpayers' monies in MWBE programming, and those businesses, they hire more staff and they pay more taxes, so it's a win-win.
A win-win. There's a lot of good things that have happened, and I want to give kudos to Mayor Eric Adams for accomplishing what he's done, and Bill de Blasio for energizing, and Bloomberg taking a look at what needed to get done. Rudy Giuliani, shame on you. Mayor Dinkins, and we always will love you, and that's how we're going to keep it flowing and keep it rolling. So I want to talk with you now, Sister Hayes, because you've been doing this for 5 years. Now, we talked about some of the great things that are happening to being an MWBE. For you, what has been some of the gains of being part of an MWBE?
The community, the network of just prestigious businesses that finally made it to certification. What's the gains? Again, I'm looking forward to having my foot in some of the contracts that some of some of these agencies will need in regards to care services. I'm looking to grow the business in that way. So I'm just looking to kind of get a piece of the pie, so to speak.
Speaking of piece of the pie, Brother Garner, she's talking about piece of the pie. Now, can you explain to us, and for full disclosure, my viewers know that I once served in the city council, and Councilmember Charles Brown, we had this big issue that the MWBE was designated and created to making sure, quote unquote, blacks got a piece of the pie. But we were learning that the W was being manipulated by the woman's Caucasian partner to tap into those funds that were designated and came under the W. How has the city addressed this issue today so Sister Hayes doesn't have to worry about competing against that aspect that some have taken the MWB and figured out how to manipulate the troops in it?
So historically, and she just indicated that it's a lot of paperwork involved in becoming certified, and it should be a lot of paperwork, and it should be a very arduous process because our goal is to certify individuals who own a company and who are in day-to-day control. And so we want to make sure that men wearing skirts are not manipulating the process and gaining contracts. And so during my time at the MTA, when we saw that there was a front who was trying to become certified that was controlled by the man, we would refer that over to the Inspector General to be investigated for MWBE fraud. And so that's the same mindset that we're taking now. But certainly what the Adams administration has started doing more consistently, if there is a 30% MWBE goal on a project, we just don't assign a 30% MWBE goal. We assign disaggregate goals, 10% black goal, 10% Hispanic goal, and 10% other. And so we want to make sure that blacks and Hispanics are getting their fair share of contracts from the city of New York. And then what we are also doing, one of the laws that Mayor Adams got passed is the $1.5 million discretionary threshold was increased from 500,000 to $1 million. And then we just matched the MTA's threshold of getting that approved to 1.5 million. And what that means is that when these agencies have a need to procure goods and services, they now have the ability to go into the marketplace, solicit 2, 3, 4 prices only from MWBE firms. And as long as that pricing comes in aligned with historical pricing, they'll make the award right there on the spot up to 1.5 million without going out for more broader bidding. And so we are being innovative, we're being creative, and we're thinking outside the box of how to increase what we call the disparity within the disparity. Disparity within the disparity. Why is it that we are not doing a good job as government in awarding contracts to black and Hispanic-owned businesses? That's changed under the Adams administration.
I'm glad that you said that has changed. Can you touch a little bit about how, you talked about the IG sending if you saw that there was some type of fraud. But at the start of the game, is there mechanisms in place? Because you just said if there is a challenge inside those challenges, how do you rectify so the challenges go away? They don't even exist on day one.
Yes, so I mean, being prosecuted for M and WBE fraud is a deterrent. And so if a male is setting up his wife, his mistress, or his girlfriend or his daughter in business, we have a process that will alert us to red flags, because the goal of certification is to ensure that the principal who has submitted the application, they own the majority of the company and they are in day-to-day control of the managerial decisions. And we have some embedded processes that will red flag things that will tell us whether or not that person is in full ownership and whether or not that applicant is in total day-to-day control of that entity. And so if a housewife now is president of the construction company with no experience, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Right? And so we have things in the process that will alert us. And then if we identify MWB fraud, then we're going to report it to our Inspector General's office. So that company can be investigated and prosecuted for MWB fraud.
Mm. Talk to us a little bit about how was your process and how long did it take you? And Mike, I want Mr. Brother Garner, I want you to chime in because some people talk about the process of, the paperwork can be overwhelming, just going through. So what kind of timeline did it for you that allowed that you worked with to become an MWB?
I believe from beginning to end, it took me a couple of years, going back and forth and getting my stuff together.
Mm-hmm. So she's saying years,
and that's certainly too long. And so, one thing that the Adams administration has done is that once an application has been fully submitted, 45 days in order to make a decision. 45 days.
Mm.
But the key here is that the applicant must include all of the necessary documents in order for the city of New York, and that's handled by the New York City Department of Small Business Services, that we commonly refer to as SBS. They have a responsibility of once an application has been submitted, all the documents are included in that submission. Tax returns, birth certificate, various licenses, et cetera, et cetera. The SBS now have the obligation of reviewing and coming up with a certification decision in 45 days.
Okay, well, that's reducing that process. A couple of years is definitely too long because I was going to ask, what is the normal time frame? And you're saying once somebody applies and submit everything and a decision is rendered in 45 days, other than what she explained. And if it's anything beyond 45, that would probably be based on the applicant themselves not submitting everything accurately?
I would say most of the time, yes. I would also say that sometimes if their analyst has gone on vacation or something, that may add a week or two onto it. But we are looking for 45 days for SBS to render a decision. And there's been many times when people have reached out to me via email. I will send the email over to the agency commissioner, and she will have her staff to get back to the applicant.
Great, great. Well, it's good to know that government is working effectively and efficiently for our Black business community because we do understand. I hate to say we started out a couple of yards behind our counterparts, but the reality is that we have started miles and miles behind when it comes to the business world. We are technically right now at halftime of King Talk Tuesdays, and we're going to take a quick break. And then we're going to come back with our great guests. We're talking about MWBEs. So we'll be right back on King Talk Tuesday after the message from our good neighbors.
Good Neighbors Community Outreach Agency provides programs that help community residents improve their lives and support their families. Are you in need of food, clothing, employment, or a home? We also provide immigration services and passport renewal.
Hi, I'm Pastor Glad.
And I'm Lady D.
We're here to serve you.
Need help?
Ask us.
You can reach us by calling 7...
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back to King Talk Tuesdays, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. I'm your host, Andy King. We air live every Tuesday on Millennial TV 24 News. We also air it on Facebook as well. We're also streaming on Roku TV, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Horizon Satellite, and we also air at 9 p.m. on Tuesdays at Optimal Channel 70, as well as Files 2136. And we thank you for everyone who's tuning in. We've also told you what I always say. You know what I always say. You know what I always say, right? People pay attention to people who participate. So tell everyone that you know, your friends and family, that King Talk Tuesdays is airing, and we're having some dynamic guests talking about our MWBEs, but just giving out information that we all just need to know. One of the things that we do talk about when we take a pause at halftime is just to address some of the things that are happening in the world today. And from the pandemic that we've all had to experience, and our children trying to manage the school and the learning, and the teachers who tried to deliver, and to so many of us who've lost friends, families, and people in our communities and in our neighborhoods, I just say take a moment in time right now. Just pause yourselves right now. Think about how you can help and find a better way for the people who are around you to embrace you, you to embrace them. You know, the world is a cruel kind of world right now, and I always look up to a higher power. For me, it's the Most High in Christ, because I've learned when I get in my own way, I can trip and fall. Concrete hurts. So if I'm going to go through trials and tribulations, which he said we were going to go through, I'd rather let him hold my hand and navigate me through the world. So I say to us all tonight, while you're watching, while you're sitting there, while you're just thinking about what the world has offered, hasn't offered, what the world is doing, say a prayer. Say a prayer for yourself. Say a prayer for your neighbor. Say a prayer for your friends. Say a prayer for your enemies. Say a prayer for your frenemies. Just say a prayer, because prayer works. And that's what gets me through the day. And I just want to say a prayer up to everyone who's watching. Whatever your struggles are, the Most High Christ will get you through. You just got to believe in something greater than yourself. If somebody that has a worse challenge than you can reevaluate the steps that you're walking. But today is the day that we got to find a way to be better to ourselves so we can be better to each other. We're in a climate of hate, and untruths become the truths, and the truths become falsehoods. And we got to figure out how to be better human beings, because if we continue on this path, we're going to self-destruct our own essence. So I send a prayer for us for peace. I send a prayer for tranquility. I send a prayer for protection. I send a prayer for care. I send a prayer for love, and just a prayer of sustainability. So with that being said, may the Most High in Christ watch over you and your household and your family. So let's get back to King Talk Tuesdays, the second half, and we jump in. We have two dynamic people, the man who's been moving mountains with the MWBE program, and a sister here who's been able to take it and magnify her own business. And so I want to start with you. You've been able to do this MWBE just for 5 years running your business. How has it had an impact on how you've had to provide for your family?
Being a business owner means you have to work hard to just stay in it. So it's always what I have to do. We're kind of like the lifeblood of the community. And so I've just had to grow, and I've had to learn about a lot of different things. I've had to put myself into different spaces just so that I can continue to service my clients, and just so that I can continue to maintain my household.
Maintaining households. Brother Garner, she's talking about maintaining households. You're maintaining City of New York all across the board. So it talks a little bit about how does MWBE affect New York City's economy?
We just talked about job creation. When you have communities of color who historically have been shut out, and they're not seeing city dollars, now you have a record number of contracts being awarded to those neighborhood businesses, or those ethnic minority-owned businesses, or ethnic women-owned businesses. They will hire more staff. They will pay more taxes. They have the ability to purchase homes. They have the ability to send their kids to better schools and colleges, and they have health care coverage. And so it's a win-win for everyone. So it is a job creator, but it's an economic development. And so for the first time now, we're reaching into neighborhoods that have certified minority-owned businesses. So for example, we're bringing the MWB program information sessions to each one of the boroughs in conjunction with each one of the borough presidents. So we started out in the Bronx in January.
Yes.
Standing remotely. We were in Queens, the borough president's office, his auditorium, standing remotely. We just went in Washington Heights on Friday, standing remotely. And so these firms now are starting to get contracts. They're thirsting for knowledge, thirsting for opportunities, and it is a user-friendly process now. And so the Adams administration, we pride ourselves on high-end customer service. When you reach out, we are going to respond, and we're going to take you through the maze. And any business that needs access to capital, that needs funding for signage, the New York City Department of Small Business Services is that agency that will assist you as well.
Okay.
Let me go a second because the lights are going to go out. Hold on.
Okay. No problem. So, your economy, you put a lot of time and energy. How do your patrons who come into your business, how do they like and know that because you're MWB, how do they feel about you being an MWB and make the decision, we're going to come to you as opposed to go somebody else?
I think they are that type of consumer who appreciates things like that. Again, it's a community, and I guess, when you start to patronize businesses that have such certification, it's just a different level of service. So I think for the clientele who seek me out and stay with me, that being one of the reasons they stay around, they're just a different type of consumer.
Do you believe that, and Brother Garner, I want you to jump in as well. Do you believe that there's a certain criteria of delivering of services that's different than those who are not MWBs who have contracts? Like you just mentioned, do you provide a different level of service and care as an MWB as opposed to someone who is not?
I like to give those type of services. So I like to hold my business in that type of regard. That is one of the reasons why I also wanted to be certified. Again, the community of people and just organizations that you surround yourself, I think, says a lot about what the business is like, what type of service you will get when you're in that business.
Brother Garner, are MWBEs treated any differently than other small businesses in the city of New York?
We want to make sure that they have adequate resources in order to be successful. Technical assistance, access to capital. So we go out of our way to make sure that their transition from certification to integration is as seamless and smooth as it should be. Because there are 11,100 New York City certified MWBEs, 11,100. But the next question that an intelligent person would ask is that, okay, but how many of those firms are getting business? And so that's where we're now focusing on successfully integrating these businesses who are certified into concrete contract opportunities. And then coming up with programming like access to capital, the discretionary program. We are getting ready to unveil a citywide construction mentoring program where we're going to have 9 different construction agencies now allocating projects to this program. And then these MWBE small contractors now can bid directly to that city agency as opposed to working as a subcontractor. And so we borrowed that concept from the School Construction Authority. We borrowed that concept from the MTA. So we changed the New York State law in order to incorporate that construction mentoring program. And here's one of the best attributes, that once a company has submitted their invoice and that work has been approved, that agency has to pay the contractor in 10 days.
That's great.
And so, and then we'll have an access to capital program where those contractors who have won a contract, now they can apply for a construction loan up to $900,000 to start their project. And so these are some of the supporting services that we are giving in order to make sure that our certified MWBEs are successful once they win a contract.
So you mentioned that there are 11,100, I believe is the number that you quoted, MWBs across the city of New York. Other than those who are tied into contracts for construction, how do other folks in New Yorkers know that a business is an MWBE?
Well, certainly once a company is certified, they have a certificate that says that they are certified. Once a prime contractor is satisfying their minority business goals in their contract, they have the ability to go to SBS, enter into their portal, and look at all the certified firms in that specific category that they need to satisfy the MWBE goal. So they will select firms in that portal, in order to perform work as a subcontractor or subconsultant. And that's straight across the board. I mean, we're looking for certified minority-owned businesses, not only in construction, but architect, engineering, information technology services, legal services, supplying goods and services. For example, when the mayor brought me over 18 months ago, the mayor is a law enforcement expert. And so I was going to conduct monthly meetings with all the agencies. And we call them CompStat type meetings. You know CompStat,
yeah.
CompStat, that crime, driving, information technology, which highlights where the crime is, and you can allocate resources to that area. Well, the mayor told me to have weekly CompStat type meetings. So we have weekly meetings for all the agencies every week at City Hall, weekly. Okay. And so in addition to that, where some people thought about a crisis, we looked at it as an opportunity. And the mayor on day one said that the $5 billion that we are spending in housing, feeding, and maintaining the asylum seekers, a lot of those asylum seekers look like you and I. So he wanted to make sure that the goods and services and food that we were buying in order to house, maintain, and feed the migrants or asylum seekers came from local ethnic minority-owned businesses. And so we have a number of instances where local restaurants are providing food to these asylum seekers. And so out of the $5 billion that we spent, we've awarded $1.5 billion of that to minority and women-owned businesses.
Okay.
And almost $750 million of that was awarded to Black and Hispanic-owned businesses. So from day one, we were laser focused and we were clear that we're going to make sure that we have these weekly meetings, that we hold agencies accountable in a transparent manner, and that we award contracts in an inclusive manner. And we're getting ready to hold a press conference in a couple of weeks announcing the $5.2 billion that the 45 different New York City agencies have awarded to minority-owned businesses, totally 35%. And I can tell you, let me just count it right quick, because I have the data right here.
All right, that's what we're talking about.
There's only been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 agencies out of 45 that has not achieved the mayor's 30% MWBE goal. So
what happens to them?
We're going to have one-on-one meetings with the agency commissioners and tell them what is it that you need from City Hall in order for you to achieve the mayor's 30% goal. And all of them are in the ballpark. I mean, one agency is at 29.5%. The other agency is at 27.8%, 26.9%, 24.3%, 24%. So all of these agencies are in striking distance of achieving the mayor's 30% goal.
Excellent.
And so next year when I talk to you, that 35% should be 40%.
That's what we're going to talk about when we get back. We got to take our last break on King Talk Tuesday, the show with real views, real talk. And we're talking about MWBEs, but we're talking about the families and your economics and the future of it. So we want to be right back from a message from a program that's helping young people understand economics and society and giving up their time and energy to make society better for themselves and for tomorrow. And we'll be right back with a message from the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program.
The Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, YEP, is a youth organization that has served the Northeast Bronx for 17 years. During our tenure, we have provided recreational and educational forums that have nurtured the growth of many youth in the community. YEP has also serviced hundreds of youngsters around New York City. YEP's target audience is youth from the age of 11 to 18 with the goal of helping youth become productive adults. YEP provides young people with resources to explore leadership skills, community involvement, and self-development. YEP consists of weekly and bi-weekly informational sessions with guest speakers from professional, political, and entertainment arenas. Also, as a part of community involvement, YEP will host trips to a variety of venues for educational and recreational experiences. As we continue to partner with other local organizations and serve our community, we will strive to unite and develop the youth in our community. The mission of the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program is building mind, body, and community.
Well, we want to thank the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program. Actually, in 2005, they started, and next year they'll be heading into their 20th year of existence, building mind, body, and community for 11 to 18-year-olds. If anyone's interested in being part of this program, they're starting up again for the school year. They'll be meeting on Fridays, starting on the 11th of October at 4 o'clock at the Richard R. Green Middle School campus. That's 4 o'clock at the Richard R. Green Middle School campus, located at 3710 Barnes Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10469. 67, excuse me, and if you want to send an email to them, you can email them at Bronx, that's spelled out, BronxYep@gmail.com. We want to thank those young people again. They're very close to my heart as one of the founders myself and my darling wife, Neva Schilling King, so we got to give them that plug. They've done a lot of wonderful work, and we're grateful some of those students have gone on to be professionals themselves and running their own CBOs and doctors, and we have lawyers, and we're just so police officers that we're just thankful that the Lord has been able to put this in our heart to serve kids, and that's what you all have been doing, becoming an MWB and knocking down the barriers that has been across this country since the inception of this country when it comes to the black in this country. So I want to jump in this last segment, Mr. Gardner, Brother Gardner, and Sister Hayes, and some of the challenges, anytime, and on King Talk, we talk about real things, because anytime we do something in this country that's beneficial, specifically for the black population, there's always a pushback. There's always some trickery. There's always something to mess it up. So can you tell us, Brother Gardner, and what have been some of the challenges that you say in delivering the MWB program for the city of New York?
Well, it's always a challenge when you're changing mindsets of people who have been doing things a certain way for an historical amount of time, pushing them out their comfort zone, holding the agency commissioners accountable. It's working. And so, but you talk about challenges, and I would say this, and you would know more than me because our paths first crossed when you were working with Larry Seabrook. I believe he was in the state senate. You and Peter Aguilar and your brother Mike created that basketball tournament in the Valley. Yeah. And so you've been giving back.
Olinville Park. You're right. Yeah.
Right. You've been giving back for a long, long, long period of time. But let me say this, and I spoke to a group of business leaders a week ago. David Dinkins, New York, Eric Adams, New York, Harold Washington, Chicago, Coleman Young, Detroit, Mayor Richard Streets, Philadelphia, Mayor Byron Brown in Buffalo, Mayor Marion Barry in D.C., and Mayor Jackson in Atlanta. The commonalities of all these individuals: one, they are black men; two, big city black mayors; three, won tough elections; three, won their elections, got in, created City Hall open for everyone. We're big on black-owned businesses and awarding contracts to black-owned businesses. And then they were criticized, they were audited, they were probed, they were investigated. For example, Mayor Richard Street and Mayor Byron Brown of Buffalo, the FBI came in, took file cabinets out of their offices in City Hall, never to be heard from again. And so when you disrupt the natural flow of business, you see, commerce was not created with black people in mind. We're sitting here because we filled a labor void in the growth and development of this country. And so when black businesses start winning contracts, start improving the lives and conditions of themselves and their families, everybody's not happy. So, for example, last week, a group of white businessmen sued the federal government on their disadvantaged business enterprise programs that they were running in Indiana and Kentucky. So a federal judge sided with them for reverse discrimination. And so when you see black gains in this country, you see pushback.
Mm-hmm.
You see Mayor David Dinkins, then you see Rudy Giuliani. You see President Obama, then you see Donald Trump. And so when there's gains made by Black America, something must be wrong. So we got to probe, we got to investigate, because certainly this is not the way that it should be. Now, contracts can be awarded to non-ethnic minority corporations for years and years and years, hundreds of years, and then there's nothing wrong.
Right.
But when Blacks, Hispanics, and women start benefiting from programs that's paid for by taxpayers' dollars, there's something must be wrong with their program.
Welcome to America again. So he shared some of the historical challenges. For you, what kind of challenges have you had? Because I can only be assured that there are some folks out here who are probably having the same plight that you might have had, how it's worked, how it has not worked, and we're at a point where we got the master on, you can ask a question or talk about some of the challenges that you've had.
Again, I think the challenges was just kind of getting my foot through the door, of getting the application and getting the certification. Now the next challenge just comes from, the next small steps, putting all the rest of the paperwork together and putting it out there for us to, again, just try and get the contract. But I think, depending on the seat you sit in, you're always going to find challenges. You'll always find challenges and hurdles that you kind of just got to keep plugging away at if it's worth it to get to the side that you want to get to.
So my question to you is the question to offer you an opportunity. If you were to ask anybody a question, say Mr. Gardner himself, what would be that question that can help you move yourself a little bit more forward? What would that question be? He's right here.
I guess that question would be, now that I have drawn up capability statements, what is the next step in putting myself out there to win contracts?
So one, it takes homework, because there's 45 agencies and you're not going to do business with all 45 agencies.
Right.
And so there needs to be a conversation in determining what government agency or city agency that's buying your good or your product or your service. And then once you identify that, it may be 3 or 4 agencies, then your capability statement and your marketing materials should be forwarded over in order for you to get a one-on-one meeting, because people do business with who they trust and who they know. And so sitting down with the agency's key decision makers who will alert you to the opportunities and other kind of resources. Now, I'm quite sure that you even want access to capital, low interest loans where you can expand your business. You can rehab your place of business and make it attractive for customers to come in and enjoy your services and other kind of products. And so, one, I identify which agencies you are going to target in order to market your business. 2, getting all the information on the additional resources like access to capital or any training dollars or any technical assistance that you may need in order to grow and develop and expand your business. And I would say that a lot of those technical assistance programs reside at, once again, the New York Department of Small Business Services.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I do have a question that came in. Do you want to follow up? You have a follow-up?
No, I'm going to start with that, and then I'll come back if I have any more questions.
I'm going to make it easy for you, too. If you send me an email, I will forward your inquiry over to the agencies, and then we have a listing of all 45 different agencies and the key decision makers and their email addresses, and all of them not only report to their agency commissioners, they also report to me into City Hall. That's one of the things that Mayor Adams did when he got in office. He realigned reporting, and a lot of those, all of them are also reporting into me. So we're holding them accountable, transparency, and responsiveness. And so I can give you my email address right now if you got a pen and take it down.
You know what? I'll help her out. I got it. But if you want to put it out and just share with everyone who's our viewers and whoever writes it down, I'll make sure she gets it.
Got it. That's M. Garner, MGarner, at City Hall, all one word, City Hall, .nyc.gov. M. Garner at cityhall.nyc.gov. Send that to me. I will make sure that you will get a response. I'll make sure that you get meetings, and I'll make sure that you'll get information on technical assistance and resources in order to grow and develop your business.
Thank you, Mike. We have literally 1 minute before we have to close out the show. But a question came in from a pastor who was 4 months behind, wants to know, how can he get help from small business or MWBs? How does that work for him? You got a minute to do.
Send me an email. I will forward it over to, once again, the Department of Small Business Services. And then we also have a office, the Mayor's Office of Nonprofit.
Okay.
And that's headed by Johnny Celestine. So the email comes to me. I will forward it to both.
Okay, I want to make sure that happens. Again, I want to thank both of you for joining us this evening. I think a lot of good information came out. I learned some stuff. I digested some stuff, and we connected you with the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, Brother Mike Garner in the house. We want to thank you again. Sister Hayes, we want to thank you again. But as we always do on King Talk Tuesdays, we close every show with the scripture. And tonight's scripture reads from Proverbs 31:31, and it reads, "Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gate." If no one told you today, God loves you, and so do I. Your friend, your brother, and your neighbor, Andy King. Peace. That's a wrap.
Okay, my brother. Talk soon.
Yes, thank you, good man. Appreciate you. God bless you.
You got it. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Well done.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. People know where you're at. Nick, let me give you his email address. So, you want to mic yourself? You want to get up and drag it all across. Uh-oh.
U.S. to file criminal charges in Trump campaign hacking case. Trump defended Laura Loomer despite concerns over her far-right views. John Legend defended Haitians in Springfield against false rumors. Starlink to bring free internet to United Airlines by 2025.